I was driving through South Australia recently in country areas and hearing from people running businesses about the impact of the rises of electricity prices that they have had to bear. And I do note that in AGL and Origin, as two of the main providers, indicated last year that they'll be providing on increases to people of 29.8%. And so whilst there has been a flurry of announcements recently about the wholesale cost perhaps coming down, the reality is what people pay from their hip pocket, whether you're a residential property owner or a business owner, has been going up, and far from the $275 reduction which was promised by the Albanese government prior to the last election. The lived experience for people is that the cost of living is going up, and power is just one of those going up. But the point that I think was really telling today was the comments from the Minister that coalition senators should be supporting more of the policies that have been put forward by President Biden. And in this energy space, I'd actually say that the government should be supporting more of the policies that are put forward by Mr Biden. For those of you who aren't aware, under the IRA Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the US is committed to significantly increasing the amount of nuclear power generation they have in that country. Why? Because it will provide cheaper energy and more reliable energy, which they need for both national and economic security, and to lower the cost of living and inflationary pressures on the American people. Just recently, at the start of this month, in Belgium, was a conference where tens of nations, 32 nations from around the world, came together to give effect to the pledge that was made in COP28, where the pledge was to triple the amount of nuclear energy in the world. And the US representative, representing the Biden administration, who was there, highlighted that for them, that would mean they would have to increase, and they are planning to increase, the amount of nuclear generation by 200 gigawatts of new capacity. And so Australia is increasingly becoming an outlier in the global scene when it comes to energy, and the rhetoric from Minister Bowen is quite out of step. World leaders of a range of countries who are there, and I might note that we were actually mentioned at that conference. The Prime Minister of Belgium, who was the co-host of the conference, highlighted that every continent is present except for Australia. And we have the Energy Minister here essentially making up or selectively choosing facts to try and win his argument. So when he recently ridiculed the quite consistent and well-researched plan that the Coalition has on this matter, and Mr Ted O'Brien, who is our spokesperson, has been diligently meeting energy ministers and industry around the world in various countries who employ nuclear power to understand why, what's the cost basis, what's the impact in terms of safety, reliability and cost. Instead, we have Mr Bowen selectively picking facts to try and say that it's going to take 19 years to build a reactor. So he selectively picked some facts between 1991 and 2022 to come up with that figure. But even the ABC doing a fact check said the reality is in 2023, 24, 2 reactors have come online that only took 10 years to build, and the long-term average, if you didn't select that particular window, is 8.8 years. So we have a government that can't keep their promises on the 275 reduction. They don't recognise the cost impact, the fact that there's been a 60% increase in Australian families who've had to go under hardship provisions because they're unable to pay their electricity bills, and that's putting businesses under pressure. And for ideological reasons, they continue to refuse to engage in an open debate about a technology that multiple nations around the world have committed to increasing because it's cheaper and more reliable and good for the environment.